Okay, first of all, let me start with Selenium and components of the Selenium, and I will also give some brief overview of each component of the Selenium, and after that we will walk through the course content. As a manual tester, you might perform different kind of testing, and or I can say you might perform different kind of testing on your application. You might test it UI, and you perform the load testing, performance testing, functional testing, etc. And Selenium is functional testing tool. You cannot perform load testing or performance testing using Selenium. It is purely for functional testing. And we test different kind of applications. We test web application, Windows application, and we also test API service tiers, API, etc. And Selenium is for web application testing. We cannot automate Windows forms using Selenium. It is only for web application. You can test your web application across different browsers. You can execute your test cases on IE, Firefox, Chrome, and mobile browsers, Android browser, Safari, etc. And all you can do without any cost. Selenium is open source. That is one of the reason why Selenium become so popular. Mine is some small or medium scale company, so they don't want to spend much amount on automation. So what they can do, they can simply use the Selenium and they can automate test cases without buying any licenses. Whereas if you compare with the QTP we have to buy the license for each and every type of application. For Windows form, one license, and web-based applications another license, etc. So as it is a open source, it has become so popular, and without any cost you can test your web applications. And till now we are using the word Selenium. When I say Selenium, it internally contains 4 components. One is Selenium IDE, next one Selenium RC, Selenium Webdriver, and Selenium Grid. Let's start with Selenium IDE. This is very basic components of the Selenium. You might heard about record and playback tool. Anybody has idea about recording and playback? What is the purpose of that? Most of the automation tools, they support record and playback. When you are new to that particular tool, without any programming knowledge or without any knowledge about that particular tool, you can automate your test cases by using this record and playback feature. Simply you will start the recording and you will do your work manually. You will perform some steps, and this record and playback tool will record your actions, and later you can play back those things. So whatever you perform manually, those things will be played back by this tool. So without any knowledge about this tool, without any programming, you can automate few test cases. At the same time, it has a lot of limitations because you cannot simply depend on record and playback. One of the reason is you cannot simply make it as database driven. Assume that your test case is regarding login. You have to perform the login, and the username and passwords are stored in the database. So first what we have to do, we have to read the data from the database, and we have to pass those credentials to the login form. How can I read the data from the database? So you cannot do it. You cannot do it using this record and playback tool. And there are other limitations. As part of the regular sessions, we will discuss in detail about each and every component. But here, just assume we cannot perform everything using this record and playback. It has a lot of limitations. And comes to this Selenium record and playback tool, Selenium IDE, the major drawback is you can record and playback, or it supports only Firefox browser. But my application, let's take mine is Facebook application. I want to test that Facebook. And people who opens the Facebook in different browsers. Somebody use IE, few people use Chrome, and others use mobile browsers, Safari and Android browsers. So I have to test my application across all the browsers. But Selenium IDE supports only Firefox. You can only record and play back only on Firefox browser. But as an organization, we have to test the application on all the browsers. So we don't use the Selenium IDE in our organizations. Only people who are new to the Selenium, if they want to play with the tool, if they want to see how it is recording and playing back those actions, we use the Selenium IDE. And one advantage of IDE is you can generate the script of your recording. You can generate the script for your recordings, and you can some portion of that code you can directly use in your test cases. We will see how to generate the code and how to use that in our application. We will see as part of the regular session. So as it has all the limitations, the next one is Selenium RC. We call it as Selenium Remote Control. It overcomes the drawbacks of the Selenium IDE. First, you can test your application on all the browsers. It supports all the browsers. But whereas IDE supports only Firefox. So it supports all the browsers. Next one is regarding database driven. How can we make it as database driven? In Selenium IDE, you cannot use any programming. You cannot write any logic. Okay, you might heard about some exceptions. So you are expecting something, but something happened. Some unexpected things happen. How to handle the unexpected things, like unexpected alerts, unexpected pop-ups, etc. How can we handle those things? We don't have a way to do that. But in Selenium RC, what we do is Selenium RC uses some programming. We write these test cases in Selenium RC using some programming, and it supports different languages. It supports all these languages. How it supports all the languages? The reason is, see, in Selenium you don't see any standard installation. If somebody works on the QTP, you might install the QTP, and there is a lot of process to install the QTP, and you should take care of configurations and etc. But in Selenium you don't install anything. We no need to install, because how it works is Selenium is nothing but some predefined code. Selenium developers provided some predefined code using which you can control the browser. And when you want to automate your test cases, what you will do is you will go to the Selenium website, you will download the code given by them, and you will add that code to your project, and you will start using their code. You don't need to install anything. Simply go to website, download the code given by the Selenium, and use that code in your project. And the code given by the Selenium, they have provided the same code in different language formats. Like the same code is implemented in Java, .NET, Ruby, Python. So people who are familiar with the Java, they can download the Java code of the Selenium and they can start using that. If you are familiar with the .NET, you can use the .NET. So it's not like you should learn this language to write the test cases using Selenium. You can use either Java, .NET, Ruby, Python. But most of the people prefer Java and Selenium combination because both are open source. Java is open source and Selenium is open source. So most of the people prefer that combination. But if you take the .NET, you have to pay some amount for the Visual Studio license. So because of that, most of the people prefer Java and Selenium combination. So as part of the course we are using the same. So Selenium RC, as it supports programming, what you can do is you can achieve all the things. First, let's discuss how we can make it as database driven. First of all, the code given by the Selenium, using that you can only control the browser. You cannot perform any other actions. The reason is Selenium, along with the Selenium, we are using either Java or .NET. These languages already provide the predefined code using which you can connect to the database. So if you want to write any test case in database using database driven approach, if you want to connect to the database, you will use the Java code. And if you want to pass that information to the web browser, you will use the Selenium code. Using these two, you can make it your test case as database driven. So Selenium code, it only supports controlling the browser. You cannot perform any other action. If you want to do some other actions like exception handling, there are some programming concept that we are going to discuss. If you want to perform some loopings, some etc. data, connect to the database, reading the text data from XML, Excel file, all such things we will perform using Java or .NET. Using Selenium, you only control the browser, like open the browser, maximize, minimize, close, fill the registration form, click on the button, etc. As Selenium RC supports the languages, you can perform all the actions. But the problem is it also has some limitations. One is the way how it interacts with the browser. We will discuss in detail later, but now the way how it interacts with the browser is not realistic. So that is one limitation. And second one is the languages that we are using, Java, .NET, these are pure object oriented. But whereas the libraries given for Selenium RC is not object oriented approach. So even though you can automate your test cases using all those things, it is not pure object oriented way of approach. So Selenium officially deprecated the Selenium RC. Now it is deprecated. People are using only in maintenance mode. All the new implementations are going on then using next component, Selenium Webdriver. Selenium Webdriver or Selenium 2, we also call it as Selenium 2. This is the latest component using which all the new implementations are going on. Whatever you can perform using Selenium RC, you can perform using Selenium WebDriver in object-oriented manner. And the way how it interacts with the browser is very realistic. I will show you how Selenium RC interacts with the browser and how Selenium WebDriver interacts. As it is a pure object-oriented approach and the way how it interacts with the browser is realistic, because of that the execution speed is very high compared to the Selenium RC. And everybody is now using Selenium 2 or Selenium WebDriver. So we are going to discuss all the concepts using Selenium WebDriver. 99% we focus on Selenium WebDriver. Okay, and we spend hardly 1 or 2 sessions to explain how the Selenium RC works, how you can perform record and playback, and how to write the code or test case using Selenium RC. So using either Selenium RC or WebDriver, you can automate your test cases. These days only Selenium WebDriver. Okay, assume that you have automated 1000 test cases and each test case execution time is 2 minutes. So total how many minutes we have to wait to get the report? 2000 minutes. But I don't want to wait that much time. What I can do is using the fourth component, Selenium Grid, I can execute the test cases parallelly. instead of executing on a single mission, what we can do is we can perform parallel execution or distributed execution, where you will say, okay, execute the parallelly on these 4 missions. So execution happens parallelly on all 4 missions, and within 1/4 of the time we will get the reports. So Selenium Grid is only for parallel execution or distributed execution. And what you will do, it all says configurations. You don't need to write much code using Selenium Grid. Here it all configuration, where you will mention, okay, which missions are available for the execution, on which mission, on which browser you want to execute. Okay, mission 1, on this mission we have IE, so execute on IE. Mission 4, we have Google Chrome, execute on that. So such configurations we will perform using Selenium Grid. And using Selenium Webdriver and Selenium Grid, you can develop the test cases, and you can also execute the test cases parallelly. If you don't want to use this parallel approach, yes, using Selenium Grid you can develop and you can also execute the test cases. At a time you can execute only on one machine. So this is overview of the Selenium components. So the conclusion is we are going to discuss about Selenium WebDriver, and we are going to use Java and Selenium combination. And you might observe, see, from the Selenium RC, for Selenium RC or WebDriver or Selenium Grid, we are using some programming language, and you can use any either Java.NET, but as we discussed, we are going to use the Java and Selenium. And if you ask me how much programming knowledge do I require, core Java is enough, basic programming is enough, because we are not going to develop any application using Java. We are going to use this Java language for the testing purpose. So core Java is enough. You don't need, I don't know, somebody might have the idea. Java contains 3 parts. One is J2SE, Java Standard Edition, J2EE, Enterprise Edition, and J2ME, Mobile Edition. We don't use J2EE, which helps to develop the web application using Java, and J2ME mobile applications. So we don't need to learn those things. J2SE, Standard Edition, which contains all the basic programming concepts. Yes, you have to learn this one. And in this also you can skip few concepts. We have some concept called AWT swing, using which you can develop the Windows forms. We are not going to develop any applications or forms, so we don't use that one. We discuss about all the OOPS concepts and loopings, control flow statements, collections, and database operations, how to read the data from the database, how to read the, mostly we store the data in Excel sheets or XML files. So how to read those files, how to read the properties files, such information is enough. And most of the people who attends the training, they comes from the manual testing background. So what we do is, as part of the course, first we teach some programming. We start from how to write the first Java program. We'll start there, and then we'll explain some programming concepts like if condition, loops, followed by collections, exception handling, all those things. Once you get the enough knowledge which is required to write the Selenium test cases, then we go for the Selenium and we start with how to write the Selenium test cases using the language, programming language that we learn. The course duration will be 40 to 45 hours. Okay. Do you have any queries? Please ping me in chat window. If you want, I can unmute you. Okay, so let me show you the sample notes that we share as part of the course. So for each and every concept that we discuss, we will provide the documents in PDF or Word format. You can easily understand those things, as most of the people, as I said, they comes without any programming background. So we try to make these documents as simple as possible. So 95% of our documents are self-explanatory. They are kind of step-by-step guide. You can easily follow those things. And here we have the documents for installing the Java software. We start with how to install the Java and some other softwares, how to write the first Java program. This document explains how we can create a project in Eclipse. And next one, you can open anything. Firebug, Firepath. So 95% of our documents are step-by-step guide. You can easily follow those things. And we also try to make the Java documents are very simple, and here you can find the very simple documents like the documents which contains the code snippet also, so that you can easily follow those concepts. And let me open the course content. So here initially we start with what is automation and what should be our approach when you want to start with the automation, the different things that we have to consider, resources, times, and feasibility. So we will start with that, followed by we will give the introduction to the Selenium. As I said, today we just had the overview of each and every component. So we will have in detail discussion about each and every component. Start with how to perform record and playback in IDE, followed by how to write the test case using RC. Hardly one session, not more than that. And start with overview of the grid, the architecture of the grid, how it works, etc. See here, Selenium IDE, different topics that we discuss as part of Selenium IDE. And here actual Selenium Webdriver programming starts. As we discussed, first we should have the programming knowledge. So we start with core Java, in how to install the Java, how to write the first Java program, and data types, classes, loops, and see, inheritance, exception handling, collections, and reading properties file and reading the data from the database, etc. First we will discuss few of the concepts. We don't discuss all the Java concepts first and then Selenium. First we will spend 3 to 4 sessions to learn the Java which is required for the Selenium. And then with that knowledge we write few Selenium test cases. And again we go back to the Java, learn few more concepts, apply those things here, and it goes like that. But overall we are going to cover these topics in the core Java. And then Eclipse. So we are going to write the test cases, Selenium test cases using Java. So where can I install that? Where can I write those programming? Where can I write my, or using which application I can write the Selenium test cases? If it is some Word document, we will use Windows Word. If it is some simple text file, we will use the Notepad. Like that, where can I implement the Selenium test cases? We have the softwares which allow us to make the development easier, and those are called IDEs, integrated development environments. And Java language has two major IDEs. One is NetBeans and another one is Eclipse. So most of the people uses Eclipse, so we are going to use the same. So we will explain how to install the Eclipse, how to write the Selenium test cases or Java program using Eclipse, and we have some concept called debugging. Assume that you automated some test case, and when you execute in your local machine it is working fine. But when you execute on the test machines, in your development machine the test case is always pass. When you execute on the test machines it is failing. So how can you investigate that? With the primary information you identified that it is not a product bug, it is a code issue. So how can you find where you are getting that exception or failure? In my development machine it is working fine, on only few machines it is failing. So we have some process called debugging, using which you can find the errors in your code. So we will explain how to perform the debugging, how to identify the script issues, etc. So first we will start with installing the Java and install the Eclipse software which is required to develop the Java or Selenium test cases, and we learned some Java programming, and then now we are ready and we can start with the Selenium. So let's see where to start. What are the first topics that we have to discuss as part of the Selenium? First we learn how to open the browser, how to close the browser, how to go to some URL. Otherwise we do like this. Let me open any website. Hey, wait a minute. Okay, so yes, this website has some registration form on the home page. Let's take this page as an example and we are going to discuss what we are going to cover as part of the course. Okay, I have a test case says for this Shadi registration. I have to automate that. So first what we are doing, we are opening the browser. After that we are opening the shadi.com. After that we are maximizing the browser. So first we will start with that. In Selenium we learn how to open the browser, how to maximize the browser, how to go to shadi.com, etc. Yes, after opening the shadi.com, what we will do? As part of the registration, what we have to do? We have to enter email, we have to enter password, etc. So how can I inform Selenium that okay, go and enter the text in the email field? The process is, first you should inform the Selenium that go and enter the email in this particular field. In this form I have 5 to 6 text boxes, one for email, another for password, and one for first name, last name, etc. So how can I inform the Selenium that go and enter the text in the email field, not in the first name field? So you can do by using locators. First, if you want to interact with some element, first you have to identify that element on the page, or you have to find that element on the page. What all you will do is you will pass some information about this element to the Selenium. First, if you want to enter the email, you will pass some information about this element to the Selenium. Selenium uses that information and try to find the element on the page with that information. If the element is present, it will return that element, and you can call some other methods, or you can perform different actions based on your requirement. So how can I find that element, and which information I can pass to the Selenium to find that element? That is called locator. So using which you can identify the or locate the elements present on the page. That information is called locator. So first we will discuss that. After discussing how to open browser, go to URL, etc., we will discuss with that how to identify the elements present on the page. So there are different ways to find the elements on the page. So we will discuss all those things. After finding the element on the page, what we will do? We will interact with those elements. Like we will, if it is a button, we will click on that. If it is a text box, we will enter the text. If it is an hyperlink, we will click. So next we will discuss how to interact with the form elements. So here we will see how to automate the drop downs, radio buttons, check boxes, etc. And assume that you are doing manual testing, and whenever you find some bug, what you will do, you will log the bug. And if you sometimes you will also attach the screenshot. If you can find that failure on the screen, you will capture the screenshot and you will attach the screenshot to the bug. But when I'm executing the test cases using the Selenium, everything will be done automatically. And when there is a failure, I want to capture the screenshot, so that whenever I analyze the results by seeing the failure, if it is a bug, I will log the bug, and I want to I want to attach the screenshot also. Again, I don't want to do it manually to reproduce it. Selenium provides a way to capture the screenshots. So when there is a failure, you will capture the screenshot and you will attach to the report. So whoever analyze the report, they can find that screenshot and they will attach to the bug if it is a product bug. So we will also learn how to capture the screenshot and how to perform the keyboard and mouse actions. Let's take google.com. I want to search for Selenium. We will open Google. After that you will enter Selenium, and then few people click on the search button. If you take the google.com, it's loading very slow today. So here I want to search for Selenium. So let me type the Selenium. After that, what we will do, see, few people click on the search button and few people click on the enter. So how can I perform that? How can I perform the keyboard actions? How to click on the enter, how to click on some functional key, how to click on the back button, delete button, etc. And sometimes we will also perform the mouse overs. How can we automate the menus? Until you move to the menu, you don't see that menu item, sub menu item. So we will also learn how to perform keyboard and mouse actions. Okay, after learning that, you will try to perform different actions. Sometimes you may require to wait for something. If you take the gmail.com, after entering username and password, if you click on the login button or sign in button, directly you don't get the inbox. In between you will get the progress bar, and you will see inbox only after progress bar is completed. And there is no standard time for loading the progress bar. Sometimes it can be loaded within 2 seconds, sometimes 10 seconds, 15 seconds, based on the network speed. So how can I handle that one? The application that you test, it may not respond same every time. The example is this one, progress bar. Sometimes it will be loaded within 2 seconds, sometimes 5 seconds, etc. So how to handle that one? So we have to synchronize the test by applying some waiting. If you take the IRCTC, during regular hours, it will load it within 50 seconds or 30 seconds. But during the Tatkal hours, sometimes it takes more than 1 minute or 2 minutes. So how can I handle that one? We will learn that. And next one is alerts. See, here I have the web page, and when I uncheck this one, see, I'm getting some alerts. It says I cannot submit the registration until I accept the terms and conditions. You might also assume that you are doing some third-party transactions. After entering the beneficiary account details, amount, and etc., if you click on the submit button, sometimes you will get the pop-up. You are trying to transfer this much amount to this person. Would you like to continue? Yes or no? So if you click on yes, the transaction will be processed. If you click on no, it will be cancelled. So how can I handle such windows? Sorry, those are called alerts. How can I handle such alerts? We will learn those things. Because when I have to test this functionality of this checkbox, I have to handle these alerts. So how to handle the alerts we will learn. And if you get any link in the Gmail, in Gmail you will get a mail saying that for the offers you got a mail from the bestbuy.com. So it says, okay, open this link for the latest offers. When you click on this link, what happens? Will it open the link in the same window or new tab? It will open that link in the new tab or sometimes in the new window. So how can I handle that one? How to handle the multiple tabs or multiple windows? I have to switch between tabs or windows. So how to handle that we will discuss. See how to handle the pop-up windows and alerts, and we also have some concept called frames. So how to handle the frames, that we will discuss. And the next one is testng. As I informed earlier, using Selenium Webdriver, Selenium code, you can only control the browser. You cannot perform any other actions. So using Selenium Webdriver, we developed the test cases. And how it can generate the reports. I don't want to just execute the test case. I want to get the reports, and the report should be in very understandable format, because management, they mainly focus on the reports or results. So how can I generate the reports for my test results? Selenium WebDriver does not have inbuilt support for report generation. So we use some unit testing frameworks. For the report generation, we use some unit testing frameworks. As the name indicates, these are mainly used by the developers to perform the unit testing. And we use this in Selenium just for reporting purpose. And there are some other actions that we can perform. And Java has two major unit testing frameworks. One is JUnit and another one is TestNG. TestNG is the latest version, so we are going to use the TestNG. So fine, now we are going to use total three things. One is Java, next one is Selenium, and TestNG. Using Java code given by the Selenium, we develop the test cases along with TestNG, so that TestNG can generate the reports for your test results. So as part of the course, we will also discuss TestNG. So how to generate the reports, how to make the database test cases database driven. Means TestNG also has some inbuilt support for the database driven testing. So how to use that feature and etc. we will discuss. And next one is Auto IT. As we discussed earlier, Selenium is only for web application testing. You cannot handle Windows forms. But if you take few applications, you might have observed dice.com. If you take the dice.com, there you will find a browse button which allow you to upload your resume. So how to handle the file upload dialog? And your web application contains a download link. When you click on the download link, it will download some product and you will get the pop-up, would you like to save this or run this file? See, the pop-ups which are generated by the browser are not web application part. Those are Windows forms, because we are testing our application, we are not testing the browser. Using Selenium you cannot test your browser, you can test the application, how the application looks like, how application behaves inside your browser. So what we do is we only test that one. We cannot handle the file uploads, file downloads. Sometimes you will also see authentication dialogues. If you open any web page, directly it shows the authentication dialog. So it asks for the username and password. Until you enter the username and password, you cannot proceed further. So how to handle that? We have some tool called AutoIT, open source tool called AutoIT. So if you have any test case which works with the file uploads or downloads, you have to use the AutoIT also. So total we are going to learn Java, Selenium, TestNG and AutoIT. So using this you can automate your web applications. And as I said, if somebody wants to learn Selenium RC, if they want to know how it works, how to develop the test cases, we'll spend some time for the Selenium RC. And next one is mainly Selenium Grid. We will learn how to write the configurations and how to make the test case as distributed execution, etc. We will learn as part of the Selenium Grid. And we discuss some interview queries like generally what will be asked as part of the interviews, etc. And mainly I would like to focus on this part. As I have been working on the framework development, the first query that they ask is, explain me about your framework. Because as the Selenium uses pure object-oriented languages, we mainly concentrate on how to organize the code, not just how to write the code. If it is some low-level languages or even Selenium RC, we mainly focus on how to implement the code. But here, as object-oriented process, we also consider how to maintain the code, how to write the test cases in such a way it can be maintainable, it can be extendable further, etc. We have different frameworks. One is keyword driven, hybrid framework, database driven. So what are the frameworks and how to write the same test case using these three frameworks, that we will discuss. And live project means we will take one of the project which are currently in development. We will explain whatever we learn as part of the course, is it relevant for what we do in our organizations. We will open the code, live code, and we will show you, okay, whatever you learn, okay, this is what you are going to do in our real-time project. We will explain that one. So this is all about we are going to cover as part of the course. Do you have any queries? Let me stop the recording.